Is it just a hit and run? Well, hey, straight up, I tell you, I just really want to cut. We'll be together. Setting up all these streams. Okay, here we go. Straight up, now tell me, do you really wanna live forever? Oh, is it just a hit and run? Well, straight up, I tell you, I just really wanna cut together. Come here, girl, let's get it on. Excellent. Okay, we'll start in a second. It looks like all the streams are up and going.
Yeah. I need someone to be patient with me. Someone to get money, then I take it from me. They don't even need to be as famous as me. I don't think I'll meet them at the places I be, but deep down I think about you all day, mommy. I know I'm a pit bull, but darling, mommy. I just wanna take you on a holiday, mommy. Say what's on your mind, I'ma call away, mommy. Come and rescue me. Take me out the club, take me out the trap, take me off the mark, take me off the mat. I'm trying to hit the group chat and tell them it's a calm.
Right.
And rescue me. Take me out the club, take me out the trap, take me off the market, take me off the mat. I'm trying to hit the group chat and tell them it's a
I didn't come this far just to come this far and not be happy. Okay, remember. You didn't come this far, just come this far. Yeah. I saw on the internet.
I don't really know how to confess.
Right.
Really sin, I
Here we go.
Says my love, baby, don't know how to express my love. That's why.
What's up, everybody? I'm Yogi Chris. This is Enlightened Masculinity Podcast, streaming to you from IMC Base 1, Stoic Temple, San Jose, California. I'm captain of IMC Nation, founder of Ninth Limb Yoga, and streaming on multiple platforms right now. So wherever you're catching this, welcome. You can get involved and join imcbase1.com. All the stuff is there, all the different trainings, newsletter, free stuff, all that good stuff. And what exactly is it that we do here? There's a lot of components to it. A lot of pieces of the pie. I was just talking with one of the highest level guys in IMC Nation. And one of the things, there's a little missing piece of his pie, and that's transcendental meditation. It's just one of the things. You know, if you're on the camera, there's a, I don't want to turn all these cameras, but there's a picture right here of Maharishi, who's the founder of Transcendental Meditation. I was not a believer in TM because I came up in the yoga community, all these other yogas. I'd read some negative things about TM, heard some negative things. Nothing too dramatic. I'd heard negative things about most different practices, but it was enough to deter me. I was just good at, with doing what I was doing. When I finally came around and the situation was right and I was encouraged to do it as part of this process here of evolution, and I learned it, and you go through a little training, like 4 or 5 hours of training, and I've done more than that. I've done like maybe 15 to 20 hours of training now in it with a very senior teacher, and the benefit of stress reduction from TM is everything that they say it is, at least, maybe more. You still TM, Fernando? It's amazing, right? It's the best thing. And so that's all the way at the top of IMC Nation. If you don't have TM, because it gives you an ability, internal ability, like invisible, people can't see it, but you have this ability inside to step back from your thoughts, to create space between your awareness and what you're thinking about, what you're feeling about. But be alert, be looking at it. Meanwhile, while you're doing that, oh, why did it stop? It may contain music. Oh man, whatever. Let's start it up again real quick. Is there a way to use the microphone with this? I have to type it. Okay, 1 second. QnA with Yogi Chris. Add title, go live. Now there's no music, so it shouldn't cut out. saying stress reduction, observe, internal ability, it's invisible, and you're alert. Oh, meanwhile, while you're looking at your thoughts and your emotions, and you have space between, like you let go because you're holding so tightly to thoughts and feelings, and the space lets you let go, and you observe your body letting go of the stress, of tension, of thoughts that are creating tension. You see the connection between your thinking and your emotions, but you have space, and you get glimpses of it. You get better at it, like as you practice it. And that's not the practice. The practice is not sit and look at your thoughts and emotions. You could spiral into oblivion if you just do that. There's a very simple secret practice. Like I said, I used to be against it. I used to think it was nonsense. Then when I learned it, I was like, oh, this is dope. And it improves my yoga. And I get it. It's just a guarded technique it's a guarded set of mental techniques to help any person release stress, because some very interesting things will happen. Some very interesting perceptions. You'll have some very interesting perceptions when you release stress. After you've released stress, you'll see the same situations differently. You'll see conversations differently. You'll perceive words a little bit differently. Like, now this one cut out. What happened? The other Instagram live goes out. You're live now. What happened? The video is frozen. Man, lame. End it. End. Discard. We'll try one more time. This is the other one. I have two devices. So the other one froze because of music. This one just froze because I don't know why. It's plugged in, maybe. QnA Shadowlands Gathering. That's what I'm calling this. Maybe I'll unplug it. Sometimes having it plugged in does things. Okay. Welcome, Instagram. We were going and then it cut out, so I'll just keep going with where it was. I was talking about transcendental meditation, TM, stress reduction, seeing things more clearly, and you'll have a different perception of your own life, of the same situations. But if you don't have stress, then it's not coloring. And so that's one piece of the pie of the process here. And I was just talking with one of our models. We have models that come and do our events. Like I just typed out Shadowlands Gathering. So next weekend, not this one, but the following weekend, October 20, 21, and 22 of 2023. So it's a great date. 2021 and 22 of 23. Whoa, that's a trip. We have a gathering, and on that gathering weekend, where a bunch of our guys are coming to town, we have a party. And in our party, we have a bunch of local models, the top models, really, of the local area. There are some pretty ones that we don't hire because their attitude stinks. And there are some that have such a great attitude, you almost forget what they look like. Even though they're above average, they're still models. They're just maybe not, America's top model, but their attitude, man, makes you feel great. Some of them, they win these contests that we have, and you're like, man, because you're just looking with your eyes. So you naturally vote for like the prettiest girl or the sexiest girl or something, or the one that smiled the most. But the guys that are in the interactions, and they end up voting for, sometimes they vote, it's really not about the looks. That's what's so interesting. Like, that influences things. You want to vote for the prettier one. It's just an instinct. But there really is this influence of attitude. Once you talk with the girls for like an hour and a half of these models, you're in rotation. You can compare and contrast all these personalities. You become less reactive to the visual, because there's just something that happens in the conversation. I mean, humans are a verbal species, right? With words matter. And it's not just women are affected by words. There's so much that goes into it. So it's very interesting. That's part of it, the party. So also one of these models that, one of the more above average of our models. So I won't say a top model, but she's pretty good. And, doesn't have a method of releasing stress. Some people release stress. They think they release stress with weed. That's sometimes yes and sometimes no. I don't think it's about the weed. The weed enhances a state of mind you're in. And so a lot of times it's going to make you more stressed out or relax your body. But you'll know when you get off weed, because you'll start de-stressing mentally. and you'll have all these stresses mentally that the weed is just kind of like putting a cake over. It's like you have a bunch of garbage and then you just throw soil on it, and people think it's a garden. Things are growing out of it. They don't know there's garbage under the soil. So, and the weed is just like the soil keeps washing away. You got to keep adding soil. That's the weed. So having a means to de-stress, you perform a lot better. So this podcast isn't just about de-stressing. I've done episodes about de-stressing before. I've done several episodes about transcendental meditation before. It's just, what we do. I'm explaining and expressing what we do with IMC Nation, in IMC Nation. Like I just met with the officers today, 16 or so of the 20. Well, I guess I'm one of them. It's about like 17 of the 20 officers, make it once a week, a meeting. Some of the guys, they're just not available. They're traveling or whatever. And these are the top guys that are leading other guys in IMC Nation. Other IMC men are following. Like I have a team, guys that help with the TikTok posting, the Instagram posting, the website, web design, graphic design. Not the biggest tasks each of themselves, but altogether it would be a full-time job just doing all these things. And so the guys take care of it in exchange for whatever is exchanged for it. And that's a whole team that makes IMC Base 1 operation work. That really makes IMC Nation, as we do the camps month after month, like the gatherings, the parties, like it is supplemented and assisted by many other people. Low battery, that's fine. And a lot of the officers have a whole team that's helping them. So it's really the network, the guys that are staff, a lot of the officers, how many? Several of the officers used to be my staff. And Palacio and anybody else? Maybe not that many. Jordan Amari, a couple guys that are near officer. Okay, maybe just two. I don't know. Maybe there's a third in there. So really just two staff members, but there are a bunch of people that were staff that are, Ambu. So there were three. So that's pretty good, And it's probably like that for everybody. Oracle and whoever has staff that they're leading, Eros has people that he's leading. Like they're on the fringes of becoming officers. They are also leading other IMC guys. And so there becomes this ladder that's built of white belts lead the newbies and blue belts lead the white belts and purple belts lead the blue belts. And it's building towards black belt and double, triple black belt, red belt, translucent lightsaber belt. That's the highest. And that's really cool. Part of the path up because of the level of cooperation and the intimacy of the level of cooperation. When you're living with guys and you're exchanging information about, who you're in relationships with and what your plans are for the day and where you'll be. And it's like you're checking in like you were a little kid, but you're not. It's like a military, but it's voluntary. So it's like, do I have to? Sometimes it's not comfortable to. And so that's where it's like, am I part of an organization or not? Is this my commitment or not? Or am I just doing it when I feel like it? Because if all the guys involved just do it when they feel like it, it'll just fall apart. And so what you're seeing in this movement that's persisting is a bunch of guys that have aligned with different various composite of philosophies that moves them forward in life like a see, I don't want to say the word, so I'll say just like a surgeon of success. That's a interesting way to say it. You're like a surgeon of success. You're a samurai of success. You're cutting your way through the fog, through life. Everybody trying to do it in their own ways and or rather do it in the ways that they've been shown. So they're in a bunch of patterns. They're doing it like their forefathers, their parents, and or the culture, whatever the media is telling them. Like they're in a pattern, a pre-programmed pattern. You're breaking away and doing your own pattern. You're being as an alpha male, not keeping secrets, and that's amazing because a lot of men have these ideas, but they wouldn't share it. And so they walk through life without the agreements of the people around them, holding secrets. And so they act out in weird ways. So the level of transparency here is just amazing. And it really embraces a lot of the truly selfish beliefs and ideas that men and women would be shy about sharing because they would be judged, because that's part of the programming of the planet, is to judge and shame and guilt selfish behavior, even though everybody has it and it's pro-survival and it's a good thing. Taking advantage or being out ethics and harming other people in in the path to selfishness may not be acceptable. I'm not saying always it's not acceptable, but it's not the selfishness itself that's unacceptable. It's the hurting other people along the way that don't deserve it in pursuit of selfish endeavors. That's, what we got a problem with. Probably something else. I just thought of that, but I think that's what it is. That's why people would hate selfishness, because they think that they'll do worse. And the truth of the matter, in most situations, when people are calling you selfish, they're just verbally trying to manipulate you against doing something so that because they wouldn't benefit. And it might be, they perceive it as it lowers their value, or it does worse to them if you succeed in that thing. If you do that thing that you're doing, they'll say that's selfish. You're being selfish. Versus the kind of selfishness that you're doing what you're doing to benefit you. Like I would tell a girl that's with me, but it's not easy to be with me because of time requirements or the high standards or demands of whatever I'm saying. And it's like, well, I know that you're here because you want to be here. It's not because I want you to be here. You're here because you want to be here. And I know you're very selfish about that because it benefits you. You feel and experience the benefits of, being on whatever you have going with me. And if it's not to your benefit, you'll leave because I count on your selfishness. I'm banking on it. Just like you should bank on mine. I'm doing it because I benefit. And then, knowing how the other person benefits, why she benefits from being with me, how I benefit from her being with me so she can emphasize those habits and behaviors and be of more value to me. That's a wonderful thing to ask about and talk about. So one piece of this pie is the transcendental meditation pie and the ability to relieve stress, because you're going to be pushing day and night. You don't want to slow down. It's like you're getting ahead in a race, but the people in the lead of a race, they don't often get very, very far in front. They're just leading it by a little bit. Like you'll have a marathon of 2 hours or so, and the person is just a minute ahead. And it seems like they're really far ahead, but that minute can go very, very fast. A person hits a wall or they stop. If the person stops, then it doesn't matter how far ahead they were. Even the slowest people will pass them. So you got to keep on it. The world is moving and people are, especially guys, I can definitely relate with guys and girls. Girls, yes. Girls, yes. Man, real bad. I don't see girls trying to improve themselves like guys, but they have some level of seeking improvement, but the way the guys go about it is so much better. And they still have a ways to go. We all have a ways to go. We're also numb to our experience and numb to expressing our experience in a way that people get it, that it's like a rare thing when we express ourselves well. It's like, oh, I expressed myself pretty well there. Man, what are you doing the rest of the time? The other 95% or 99%. And the thing is it doesn't immediately pay to be able to express yourself. It will eventually pay very, very well because of the ethics involved. If you are expressing yourself authentically, then when you make your money, you'll be making your money in a way that you feel really good about it, because you were honest with yourself about yourself. Like the salesman who compromises himself and doesn't say really what he means because he's going for the sale. He'll feel good about the money, but then he won't feel good about how he got the sale. And if he keeps chasing that money, he'll have an alter ego where he has a sales personality and his real personality. And one day he may snap on the customer or the client or whatever, because really he wants to say this other thing. So in the long run, it pays to, we might say, be honest, but it's like, it's all the cliche things people say, like be honest with yourself, be honest with the client. People don't know how to be honest with themselves. They're not tapped in touch with that. And it takes practice. And so that's why it pays off in the long run. But in the short run, because people, they're become so numb to their inner experience that when they start learning how to express their inner experience, they got to recognize, what am I feeling right now? How am I? Check in, like what's going on? And then as things are happening, it's not just about sitting and checking in, but like somebody says something and your response, being able to feel like, how do I feel about that? when people start doing that and they can tap in, it's not, what's going to come out is not going to be good a lot of times, because we've made such a habit. We've ignored our feelings. We're numb to our feelings for so long. It's because they didn't feel good. And so we have a really long, our whole life history of not feeling that good on this prison planet and ignoring those feelings and saying some other shit that isn't really exactly how we feel. We use a bunch of flowery language that misdirects people off of what we're actually experiencing. Our tonality, you know, and our in presence and level of engagement with life is really like the communication of your inner state. But people are misdirecting everybody with their language, saying things of not exactly, you know, so like somebody might say, hey, how are you doing? And you'd be like, great. And that, I don't know if that sounded great to you, but I don't know if that's really expressing, I am great. And there'd be more words, but I'm just saying the tonality will convey a different message. And there's an honesty in that. Now, a person can manipulate the tonality, can manipulate all, but it's hard to really manipulate all the elements of your communication and keep it up. You know, that lie, but that's what people are trying. Since everybody's just paying attention to each other's words, they're used to listening to things or zoning out at school and listening or reading or writing or texting. And it's just a bunch of words. They're paying attention to the experience of the words versus the experience of what's being communicated, because they want to be afforded that also, where just hear my words. Don't listen to how I'm communicating. What is being communicated beyond the words or pre-verbally or just transverbally, like transvestite, transverbally beyond the words. What am I saying? Beyond the text message, what's being said here? And you know, this happens also. I see this happen with girls where they'll start to tap in with how they're feeling, and they'll say things in ways that the words are, that's a wrong way to say it. But the feeling that they're having when they say it is positive. And so I'm torn. Sometimes I'm like, don't say it that way. But then it's like when the dog behaves right, you want to give it reward. When it behaves wrong, you give it, you know, punishment, or you ignore it, or, you know, but always calm and not. And it's like, is she a dog? No, it's just how you treat life. When that's, you know, it's not like she's not doing that to me. She may be less conscious of it, but when I do something she doesn't like, she punishes. When I do something she likes, she rewards. She's already doing it. We're all already doing it. The dog, it's funny when people get offended by the dog analogy and they're doing it anyway. It's like that thing where people say you're being selfish when they themselves are selfish. They try to shame you for the dog analogy, but they themselves are doing the dog analogy on everybody, punishing when they do things they don't like. And, you know, even if it's the simple punishment of taking your attention away, you may not be that conscious that you're taking your attention away, but you just give the person less attention because you don't want to give them any more attention. And that natural repulsion, the opposite of attraction, is your punishment when they do something you don't like. So that's what you do to a dog. You don't reward its bad behavior and you don't punish its good behavior. So when the girl is expressing positive emotions towards me, but she talks in a way that is I don't like, well, then you make a decision there. There has to be the right timing for when to correct their language and the right timing for when to accept their vibes. Similarly, if she could say the right thing in the right way, but she's got the wrong attitude about it. And sometimes she can't understand, why are you getting on me? I'm saying it the right way. It's because I can tell your attitude is conveying the wrong message. You're trying to fool me with your words. They're not what you're meaning. Your meaning is in how you're delivering your message, which is wrong. Okay, so that's, you know, some details of communication and what have you, you know, talking about transcendental meditation. You guys have questions, comments, feedback, what's going on the YouTubes and everything? What's it called? Trance meditation. Could you spell it? I study occult trying to get deeper. I find awareness is only held for about 5 seconds. Well, you may need like more physical stuff. You know, if you're already doing occult, then you're probably coming across like focus drills and focus exercises and what have you. So, you know, you got to train yourself physically. People don't want to do that. And a lot of times it's because they push too hard and people are embarrassed to like go very, very easy. I'm about to try it. After this, I think I'm going to slip on my camouflage Asics running shoes, and I'm going to take a light jog. Light jog, because I'm sure shit's going to cramp up. But if you go slow enough, I ran cross country a long time ago. I'm 37 now, so it was a long time ago. But I remember, and there was many times with wrestling, running, I'd be running to lose weight or just be in shape, and you get cramps, and it's amazing what happens if you just kind of run through it. It hurts and it sucks, but it does eventually loosen up. Like, I don't remember a cramp ever lasting forever. Like, it would finish. I mean, I might get a cramp at the end, and so I end with the cramp, but like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, I don't know. So I plan on going super light. And I think that's what prevents people from really getting into their exercise, is they go too hard and they kind of burn out, and then, they're averse to it. So if you're only able to hold your awareness for about 5 seconds, you might try even just some push-ups. Like, can't you hold your awareness on your push-ups for more than 5 seconds? Or some squats, just standing squats or something, so basic exercise. And then, it's expensive to learn transcendental meditation. So, I don't recognize your name on YouTube. If you're on IMC TV here, I'm sure you really like what AZD teaches. So I'd recommend get on Alpha Academy. I think the money spent, because people that I highly recommend transcendental meditation. And if a person could not, like, somehow had access to TM but didn't have access to IMC, then of course I would say learn transcendental meditation. But the truth is that there's nobody in the TM world besides Maharishi, who's dead, that I really admire, like, the way they live. And even Maharishi it's different. It's like the only other way to do it. There's the monk that's celibate, and then there's this kind of monk that's a householder or has relationships or, things of this sort. So I want the relationships. And I don't know, Maharishi's tech, it works in so many arenas of life, and it translates everywhere, even in the relationships, but there's not really any direct relationship advice or how to communicate with people in that seductive way, which is very charming and pro-life if you do it right. It's very life-giving. So his way would work if the whole world were a bunch of spiritual monks, but given that there is a bunch of vices and things on the planet and the culture and the way the brainwashing is and everything, we need to de-stress, but we also need a game of life and how to interact and communicate. So let's say it costs you $500 to learn the transcendental meditation. I would say, better to spend your $500 on 5 months of Alpha Academy and get your thinking straighter and get your actions straighter in life. Handle your life, handle your income. You should be able to make that $500 back if you apply it right to your life. Because as you get better at clearing your communication lines so that you have better communication with family, people around you, all that stuff, coworkers, and you handle your life. So you start to own what is your responsibility and let go of what's not your responsibility. And then start to look at relationships with women differently, where you're more alpha, you take more of a center stage in your life instead of being an accessory. All these things will be the result of 5 months of Alpha Academy for sure. You should be able to apply all the stories and awareness and things that you learn to making more money. You should be able to make that $500 back, and then you can get transcendental meditation, and it'll serve you much better. So if it's available to you, I recommend IMC stuff first. So that goes to the commenter over there on YouTube. So we could be winding it down. I don't see too much participation. I talk about the AZD process. I talk about just the living process of a Stoic monk in so many of these episodes. And we have a gathering coming up, and all the details are on imcbase1.com. And the links are in the description. Shout out to Tony K, who had worked to build this podcast with me. Shout out to Officer Jeremiah, who posts this show on IMC TV. Shout out to Josiah, who just made the most recent flyer graphic, which is really cool. And so this becomes season 6, I think, of around episode 350 or so. Just documenting awareness, the growth, the evolution here. One day it'll be episode 1500 or something, and maybe we'll have like a best of, and we'll, what I'm saying, like, it'll be a really tight show. Everybody that showed up and participated, thank you. And I'll see you guys on the next stream of Enlightened Masculinity. Jai Guru Dev. That's a phrase we say as a homage to the lineage, Jai Guru Dev.